What's going on, everybody? Welcome to show 3 of the Seville Mentality or Sports Mentality Sports Show on the 610 Seville Sports Network. I am the Sports Rev coming to you with another episode along with my boy, Mr. Grub, giving you show 3 on this week. How you feeling, Mr. Grub?
I'm feeling great, Rev. I'm feeling great, man. Just like Magic Johnson's feeling great with that win. It's showtime, baby.
I got you, man. I'm ready. I'm glad that you're ready for showtime. And we want to welcome everybody to the Seville Sports Mentality Show. Also, we want to encourage you, if you don't mind, please like and share this particular broadcast. We know that you can't see it directly on our page because we're still in that 60-day probationary period. But if you want to comment so we can see your comments, go to the Pastor Michael Clayton Harris Facebook page, and there you can put your comments in the chat and we'll see them. Also, you can chat on our YouTube channel. So feel free to comment. Your comments help the show be what it can be. So feel free to hit those comments so that we can recognize you and bring your comments on the page. With that being said, let's move on as we start show 3. And as we seek to do each week, we want to do what we call the cash check-in. So graduates of Coatesville Area High School, will you please put in the chat the year you graduated so we can recognize you on today? Put your graduation year in the chat so we can recognize you. Good evening to you, Sister Sylvia Harris. Glad to have you on the Seville Sports Mentality Show. Anybody else, please hit the comments. And if you're a graduate of Cash, come on, we're ready for you to check in right now. If you don't mind, once again, Mr. Grub.
Sir.
What's that year you're representing?
95.
1995. That was a great year.
That was
yours truly didn't graduate from Cash in that year. But I did graduate from that school in Atlanta, Georgia, called Benjamin Elijah Mays High School, named after one of the most iconic figures in Atlanta. But with that being said, it's all about Coatesville today. Happy Monday to you, Miss Man. Glad to have you on today. Anybody else checking in, please check in. If you're a graduate from Coatesville, we'd love for you to let us know your graduation year so we can show you some love on this particular show. So come on in, chime in, let us know that you are tuning in. Also, if you don't mind, please like the 610, the Seville Sports Network Facebook page, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll be greatly appreciative of those likes and share. Again, we're waiting on folk from Coatesville Area High School to check in. Let us know what year you graduated. Sister Barbara Talaferro, one of the former teachers at Cash, she's checking in and she said, Levi was a great student. How much did you pay her, Mr. Grove?
I didn't pay her anything. I feed her in smash burgers.
Oh, so that's the incentive on why she showed you some love publicly on the show. You give her smash burgers, she gives you public love on the show. Got it. But we're so glad to have you, Sister Tyler Farrow. Matter of fact, a lot of the folk who had Sister Tyler Farrow love Miss Tyler Farrow, said she was a ball of energy and a great teacher. Would you agree with that assessment of her?
She was a great teacher, but she was also a great, I would say, mentor, mother type to us. She knew our parents. I mean, just great all around.
All right.
Still to this day, Grant. Still to this day.
Still to this day. All right. I'm glad that Brother Levi is showing his former teacher some love. We got about one more minute. We're waiting on some folk to check in. We understand that it's still hard for people to check in, especially since we're not streaming live directly to our Facebook page. And hopefully in about 40 some odd days, we won't have that problem. We're still in a probationary period with Facebook since we just opened up a new page. But nevertheless, we're going to press on. And if there are Coatesville graduates who are watching during the course of the show, feel free to chime in. Let us know what year you graduated. We're going to keep this CVille sports mentality train running. And started last week, we started giving what we call Red Raiders respect. We want to show some love to some players, either present players or former players in various sports, some respect on some accomplishments that they recently have been recognized for. So real quickly, pay attention to this video as we seek to give some Red Raiders respect on this week. Here we go. So big ups to all the Red Raiders we just showed respect to. As a recap, Red Raiders respect goes to forward freshman Colton Hiller. Scored 13 out of 14 of Coatesville's points in overtime in their victory over Bishop Shanahan. We're showing Red Raiders respect to the Coatesville boys basketball team for winning. Coatesville boys wrestling team for winning their first dual championship. They defeated Hershey 39-24. We are showing Red Raiders respect to the big offensive lineman, sophomore Max Hiller, who was named Chestnut Offensive MVP for this year. We're showing Red Raiders respect to Coatesville football player Tommy Mack, who was first team O-lineman, Chestnut League. Also, we're showing Red Raiders respect to Coatesville football player Nasir Jordan, who made first team running back for the Chestnut. Also, we're showing Red Raiders respect to Coatesville football player to Kia Lynch, who was first team defensive lineman. Also, we're showing Red Raiders respect to Elias Hansen, first team DB, Chestnut League. Red Raiders respect goes to Coatesville football player Josh Van Orden, first team DB, defensive back. Also, we're showing Red Raiders respect to Coatesville football player Tristan Jackson, who made first team wide receiver, Chestnut League. We're showing Red Raiders respect also to Coatesville football player Terry Wiggins, first team defensive back, Chestnut League. So big ups to these high school football players, to Colton Hill, a basketball player, and to the Coatesville boys wrestling team for doing some big things recently. You got anything you want to add, Mr. Grub?
Just a good job, fellas. Good job. Good job. And big up respect to the Coatesville girls basketball team for their victory over Bishop Shanahan last week.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Grub, for adding that. This past week, we learned that there was a major passing in the Coatesville area. And Coach Al Black, former Coatesville football coach, passed away this past year. Currently, he is the second all-time winningest coach in Coatesville football history. Before Coach Ortega came, he was the winningest coach in football history. So we just want to pause and pay some respect to Coach Al Black, as the 610 Seville Sports Network wants to honor him and his memory and his accomplishments. And with that being said, we were able to grab one of his former football players who played for him during the very first season he became the head coach. So we're glad to welcome Brother Joe Lewis, class of 1972 of Cash. How you doing, Brother Joe Lewis?
Good. How's everybody? Good evening.
Good evening, and we're glad to have you on today. And thank you so much for joining us so that we can pay homage to your former head coach, Coach Al Black.
All right. Thanks for having
me. Let me ask you this question. How would you best describe Coach Black?
How would I best describe him? As a coach or as a person? Which one you want first?
You can go either way.
As a coach, he was methodical. Everything was timing. Everything had to be on time. As a person, Al was genuine, man. He cared about his players. He cared whether you wanted to go to school, what you wanted to do in life. And even up until the last time I saw him, he was always concerned about how my family was doing, how I was doing as a person. You know, we remained friends for up until his last days.
Now let's go back down memory lane. You know, 1972 was a very, 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 very long time ago.
Well, that's a little before you two guys' time.
That was before we were born. We were both born in the late 70s. But anyway, what was your first encounter with Coach Black like?
Oh, it's funny, man. My first encounter with Coach Black, we had heard they fired our previous coach. And a lot of us used to go down to the high school field and work out during the summer and doing passing drills and whatnot. So this little car pulls up alongside of the field. And this little scrawny, football coach, we had big burly looking football coaches, stocky guys. So this little scrawny guy gets out the car, strolls over. He said, "Hi, fellas, how you doing?" So, okay, he said, "I'm Al Black. I'm the new football coach." So we looked at each other and we said, "Oh, hell, we're in trouble." That was our first encounter with Al. Al did not look the part of a football coach.
Wow. Mr. Grub, I just sent you a question to ask Brother Joe Lewis.
Well, brother Lewis, I can respect when you said you became friends with your coach, because I can relate to that the same way I did with Scud. So
yeah,
much respect on that. What was Coach Black like on game day?
Oh wow, oh man, he was like a general.
Okay.
We would go through our routines before we go to the field. What we used to do, let me tell you, a lot of people don't realize we used to take tests on Saturday morning to make sure everybody knew their assignments. And if you didn't know your assignments, you weren't going to start. So we had to take a test Saturday morning before we even got dressed. And then we'd go through the drills. He made sure everything had to be perfect with Al. You know, everything had to be right in place. Let me tell you another little story. When he first came there, he took a look at the uniforms and stuff that we had. And he told him, "Look, you got to get rid of all this stuff." He said, "We're not using this." And and I think he told the superintendent of schools, he said, "Look," he said, "these helmets look like somebody spray painted them in their basement." He said, "We're not using these." Wow. So we got all new equipment, everything. Al said, if they don't look good, they won't play good. Wow. Everything had to be in its place with him. Nothing could be out of place with him on game day, or he would just go berserk, you know.
All right, so he was a man of decency and order.
Oh yeah. Al lived, breathed, and ate football.
I got you. Before we ask you a couple more questions, we want to give some love. Sherry Tolton, glad to have you on this evening. Sister Verdell Beckman, all the way from Columbia, South Carolina, thank you so much for watching. My Passtown member and Sister Crystal Brown, who's showing her Passtown proud flavor on tonight. We're so glad to have you as well. Let me ask you this question. What's your favorite memory of Coach Black?
My favorite memory, we were 5-0, and Pottstown was 5-0. So they were coming down to Scott Field. And I mean, the stadium was jam-packed. And you know where that building is across the street, the egg auction over there? It's across the street from the stadium. We had people standing on top of there. And Al was a manipulator. Pottstown was out warming up. He kept us up at the high school. And we came down the back alley, across the railroad tracks, down the back alley to the stadium. Nobody saw us come in. And he held us there until they were done. They didn't see us until game time. He played head games with people. And he had a couple teams that came in there. They thought they were hot stuff. Al had the visiting locker room painted pink. He would paint it. He would have it painted yellow. All kind. And he would do little things during the week to give the newspaper people stuff to write about. And really, a lot of times the game was over before it started because Al had already got in the head.
And you know, that's interesting that you mentioned those colors, because even though those colors now, pink and yellow, are more widely accepted, particularly among men now in the 21st century, back then that could definitely play mind games, because he basically got you thinking you're girls.
Yeah. And it was one referee that he could not get along with. They couldn't even be in the same room together. I remember we went to play. I think we were playing Phoenixville or Coatesville with somebody, and this guy's name was Bill Marsh. So we get off the bus. I'm stepping off because I usually stepped off when Al and the rest of them stepped off. And he said, 84. That was my number. 84, come here. I said, yeah. And I already didn't like him because I had an attitude with him because he didn't like my coach. So I said, what's going on? He said, tell your coach. He said, he better keep his mouth shut or I'm going to throw the flag on him. He said, I'm ready to throw the flag on him right now before he gets off the bus. But Al would give him all kinds of devil, man. And one time he called a penalty on us, and he called the wrong guy's number. And Al stood there in the middle of the field. Sometimes you see a picture of Al with his arms out like that. He's talking to Bill Marsh. And he said something to Bill Marsh that I'll never forget. He said, I don't know who you think you are. He said, but I'll tell you one thing. He said, in front of everybody in the stadium, he said, if I pull your pants down, you probably have blue and gold shorts on. Because that was the colors of the other team. You know, he was wild. Can I just read something right quick? I want to give you a little bit of background.
Go ahead.
Al first came here. Our team was 1-10 the year before that. 1-10. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but there was newspaper articles printed up when he first came. And Al had a little bravado with him. I remember Al told the school board and everybody when he got hired, he said, you give me 11 players that want to play football and I'll win you a championship. And that from that point on, his bravado kind of sometimes it got the best of him. But the newspaper article says Al Black, is he a super con man? And it goes on to talk about what kind of con artist is Black. It said part of Black's job at Coatesville, and maybe the most important, is getting his players to believe in his system and in himself. He said Al Black has to be one of the best con men around. And then further down it says, so here it is, 2 weeks before the season opens, 3 weeks before Coatesville meets a Chesmont opponent, and the con job is in full force. The objectives of Al Black's con job are twofold. Number one, the opposing coaches and his own kids. So chances are the effervescent Black will succeed in at least part of his job. His kids already believe in him.
Wow.
So Al wasn't, kind of like Bill Belichick. If you have a system put in place, and you can see from his, I'm not going to read this record. You guys could do all that. But he had a system in place. Everywhere he went, he won. And you can tell from the records of that. So it was like a plug-and-play system with him. No matter who, like we had running backs like Abel Joe. And a lot of people don't realize, okay, Abel Joe, Reverend Ricky Wilson was a running back at Coatesville High School. Reverend Kevin Hunt was a running back at Coatesville High School. All those guys enjoyed success because of the system. And he believed in it and he knew it would work. But see, it took us to start winning till people believed what was going on, because when the season first started, everybody was, oh, those guys and we had to believe in ourselves. I remember we had the first scrimmage we ever had was with Central Bucks West. At the time, they were one of the top teams in the state. So we go up to Central Bucks West. The first half, I mean, we're looking like the Bad News Bears almost. So Al comes over. He's all cool. We were expecting him to start hollering and cursing and stuff, which he never did a whole lot of cursing. But he comes over. He says, "Anybody hurt?" "No, nobody's hurt." "Everybody okay?" "Yeah." He said, "Well, go over and get a Coke and come on back and sit down." So we sit down. He says, "Okay, now listen." He said, "The second half, we're going to go out and do what we know how to do." He said, "I give you guys a little time to get situated, feel your way around." And we're all looking at each other like, so the second half, we go out there, we score a touchdown right off the bat. And we're looking at each other like, man, yeah, we can do this. We got this. Second half, we blow their doors off. After that, man, the show was over. You couldn't tell us we couldn't beat anybody.
Wow.
And at the time, I think when we finished, at one point of the season, we were ranked number 5 in the state. A team from 1 and 10 a year ago, we're ranked number 5 in the state. I think we ended up 9th in the state.
Wow.
But it was just that kind of guy. And really, I got a chance to coach with him a few years later. From 1981 to 84, when I got married, I had to stop coaching because it took up too much time. But I mean, some of the stuff, man, you go watch film with this guy, he would sit you down and say, "Look, this guy's playing across from you. Tell me what he's doing. How's he lining up? Is his right foot in the front or is his left foot in the front? What's he like to do?" I mean, this was like foreign to us. And nobody in Coatesville, nobody in the Chesmont League, man, had seen flea flickers, bounce passes, reverses, halfback passes off the reverses, all kind of different plays. He was an innovator, man.
So he was well before his time.
Oh, my gracious, yes.
Mr. Grub, got one last question for you.
Okay.
Get you up on this one.
Okay.
Well, Brother Lewis, it's evident that you have a deep respect for Coach Black.
Yeah.
Was he one of those coaches that the players on your team, they knew what their roles were? Because me and Rev talk about this a lot. You know, if the players know their roles, you're going to have a good team. Was he one of those coaches?
Definitely, because that's why we had so much success. Everybody knew their roles. We had, on the outside, everybody looked at somebody as a star, but we never looked at it. As long as we won, everybody knew their role and everybody played their role,
And was there one thing in particular, that a lesson that you learned from him that sticks with you to this day?
I guess just being a fair person, being honest with yourself, and you look at yourself in the mirror and you judge yourself. Al's thing with us was like, don't get caught up in what everybody else is doing in life. If you got a goal, keep your eyes on that goal. Don't let anybody disturb you, disrupt you. I'm gonna tell you this, I'm gonna let you guys go because I know you're on a time frame. I wanted to go to Morgan State bad. Went down to visit Coach Bear Banks was there at the time. I got down there. Everything was cool. He was inviting and all, and he started telling me about this big guy they were getting from Philadelphia. He's a tight end. So I said, okay, all right. So I came back to Coach, said, "How was your visit?" I said, "Oh, it was good." I said, "He's telling me about this guy, Sidney Shepard." He said, "Look," he said, "I know that's might be where you want to go." He said, "But you look at the countryside." He said, "Find a place where you know you're going to play." I said, "Okay, all right." So 3 weeks before camp starts, I get a call from Morgan State. Coach Banks is on there. He wants me to come down. I said, "Well, what happened to Sidney Shepard? What happened to?" Well, here's Sidney Shepard ended up going to Boston College to play basketball. Mm-hmm. But by that time, Billy Joe had the Cheney job. So I was going to Cheney with Billy Joe. And I tell a lot of kids growing up, even my own kids, when they were playing ball and whatnot, it's nice to look at a Penn State. It's nice to look at Michigan State. It's nice to look at this and that. But if you really want to play, you look at those rosters and you find out where you think you would have a chance to play.
That's good stuff. Right. And I totally agree with you, having played college basketball at Morehouse College. Well, Brother Joe Lewis, and I'm not used to calling you brother.
That's all right. That's fine. That's fine. We're not.
I know him more as Deacon Joe Lewis, one of the fine deacons at the First Baptist Church Passtown. Yeah. We truly want to appreciate you for coming on our show, giving us some insight of Coach Al Black. We thank you so much for speaking so passionately about him. And now when we see the name Al Black, we can put some context to that name. So
And let me say this
C-
before I go.
go ahead.
Al Black, you heard the term standard of excellence?
Yes, sir.
That's what Al Black brought to Coatesville football.
That's dope. That's dope. Well, Seville Sports Mentality Show family, can y'all show some love? If you don't mind, send up some hearts, send up some likes for brother / Deacon Joe Lewis, former football player of the late Coach Al Black. Thank you, Dick, man, for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Good job, man. You guys are doing a good job. Keep it up.
We appreciate it. And tell Sister Pam, thank you for allowing you to come on. All right?
So you don't went too far. You went too far now. You went too far.
Take care, man.
All right, thank you.
All right. That was a great interview as we remember Coach Al Black. And now we can put some context to the name, and we truly appreciate brother / Deacon Joe Lewis for coming on the show, giving us more context about Coach Joe Black. All right, real quickly, some other people have chimed in before we get to our next round. Sister CB Jones, glad to have you. Sister Sharon Johnson, glad to have you. Sister Carrie Avila Hunt, Councilwoman Hunt, glad to have you as well. And thank you all for showing the love about the interview. We truly appreciate it. Well, he still said we were on a time crunch. And so, Bro Levi, you're a member of Passtown. So next time he talks to me about going too long, let's remind him how he went too long on the interview. Okay, I'm just
trying to get in trouble, man.
No, let's be just playing.
I just got here.
Oh, man, it's all good. But let's give a quick update on the Coatesville boys and girls basketball teams before we bring in our Coatesville Legacy Sports interview on today. Brother Andre Lamont is waiting for us, so he'll be on in just a minute. But this was a great week for both the boys and girls. The boys played 2 games, but before I get to the boys, the girls won against Bishop Shanahan this past Tuesday, 39-32. They won their game at the Coatesville High School, and a surprise leading scorer was freshman Janasia Holmes, scored 10 points, had some big buckets down low for the Coatesville girls basketball team, and then sophomore Gianna Jackson added in 9 points. And while the girls were winning at Coatesville, the boys won a tough one over at Bishop Shanahan in overtime, 67-64. And the freshman phenom, Colton Hiller, brought out his bag of tricks in overtime. He finished the game with 21 points, but scored 13 of those 21 points in overtime. In 4 minutes of overtime, he scored 13 of Coatesville's 14 points in overtime as the boys beat Bishop Shanahan in a close one, 67-64. And the winning kept on going today on MLK Day as Mr. Grubb had a chance to go see the boys win over Parkland today, 51-38. Tell us what you saw, Mr. Grubb.
And I was thoroughly impressed as usual. Coatesville played Parkland today. There was 3 games on the slate today, but 2 of them were canceled for other teams. Westchester University boys, our men's basketball team was supposed to play, and Downingtown was supposed to play, but they canceled those games. And Coatesville was still on the slate to play, so I was excited to go. Man, listen, Coatesville took care of business. Parkland is a good program. This year, they lost a lot of seniors last year, so they're a little on the downside, but they played hard. They fought. Coatesville ended up winning the game 51-38 with Nasir Williams, number 1, leading the scores with 12 points, and Ahmad Folks bringing up the rear with 11, and Larry Brown Jr. with 9. They spread the love on the offensive end, and they played tough defense. And I was impressed that they with the little layoff they had since last week, that they were up to the challenge. And they pulled it out today and pulled out the win and won. So big ups to the Coatesville boys basketball team, Coach Tootie and his staff. You guys are doing a great job. Few games left until playoffs start. We're gonna keep it rolling, man. They got a game tomorrow, and then they got a game on Saturday against Central York. So they're doing the back-to-back, and everybody's going to play. no Joel Embiid's on this team.
Oh, see what? We're not even talking about the Sixers, and there you had to go take a shot at Joel Embiid. We're gonna have to put you in Seville Sports Mentality timeout if you take any more shots at the former MVP for the Philadelphia 76ers, one Joel Embiid. Nevertheless, let's get on with our Seville legacy conversation. We are blessed to have for our third installment of the Seville Sports Legacy Conversation, Brother Andre Lamont, a Coatesville native, a former celebrated standout as a football and basketball player. After school, he had his share of ups and downs, but he has a great redemption story. Right now, he's relocated to California. He's a celebrated artist, author, barber. He has a ton of things that he's doing in an artistic fashion, and we are so glad to have Andre Lamont join us for this week's version of the Seville Sports Legacy Conversation. Can y'all do us a favor? Send up some hearts, send up some likes, and welcome Coatesville own Andre Lamont. We welcome you,
brothers. My brothers. How y'all doing today?
We're doing great. We're doing great, and we want to thank you for joining us on today. And we appreciate you making time because we know you're in California. And we know you're 3 hours behind us. That's why you still have sunlight and we're in darkness.
You see, right? It's still sunny out here.
All right, with that being said, we're going to jump right into this conversation. Mr. Grub, it's on you, brother.
Man, Dre, it's good to see you again, man. You know, seeing you still have that radiance, that glow about you, that infectious smile.
Yeah, boy.
So, I mean, we talk, but whatever. I'm seeing you on the show. So I just want to ask you, what was it like growing up in Coatesville, and how did it affect you? How did the town shape you on the man you became?
First and foremost, you had to know how to fight coming from Coatesville. But I mean, this is a strong community. You know what I mean? I lived a couple different places, but wasn't nowhere like home, honestly.
All right.
Let me ask you this question. Can you describe a moment from your childhood in Coatesville that made you feel unstoppable, or maybe a moment that even tested your resilience?
Bo knows we've been friends for 35 years, so we played in a lot of leagues together. And just seeing the dominance of our community when we went other places to play ball, football, whether it was football, basketball, track, baseball, like we dominated everything, everywhere, all the time. So that just spoke volumes to how much character came from our community.
So I got you.
Dre, we the people that know you, you know, from those 35 years, know how naturally gifted you are. I mean, even just speaking about your family, you know, it just ran rampant in your family, right?
Yeah.
So seeing that you were so gifted naturally, athletically, I mean, tell the people when you first figured out that art was something that you were actually gifted at also.
I might have been in the 4th, 5th grade. I had moved to Downingtown for a few years, and I probably was about 12, 13, and I couldn't get to Coatesville to get a haircut.
Right.
I still wanted to stay fresh. So my grandfather had a pair of clippers in his closet, and I just went in and started cutting my own hair. And we still wanted to stay fashionable. So I started painting. You remember the starter jackets?
Yes.
Everybody had a college team back in the day. So, we would wear the starter jackets. I could mimic that on hoodies, sneakers, jackets at 13 years old.
Wow.
So let me ask you this real quickly. Mr. Grub had to tell me about you. He said you were a standout football player and basketball player. So let's go back to your high school days. Matter of fact, I saw one of the pictures where you're in somebody's arms, putting up your finger. So y'all won something. I don't know what that something was. But what was it like being a Coatesville football player as well as basketball player?
It was great, but it was hard because we had so many good players. Like you really had to fight for your position. You had to like come prepared.
And how did you seek to prepare yourself for the competition that came with playing for Coatesville on the football team and basketball team?
Show up in the summertime. You know, we got summer leagues out there. You have to show up. That's where you get your name in Coatesville Summer League. At the time, it was on Ninth Avenue. You had to show up. That's where I gave my. That's where I. For one, I was dunking in like the 7th grade. So you know, I became a big name because I could jump the way I could jump. But that ninth grade summer league, I mean that Ninth Avenue Summer League, it was tough. You had Rip, you had Shaddy, you had a lot of guys down there that could really, really, really go. Younger than me, older than me, you know what I mean? So you just had to be very, very prepared and very, very aggressive coming from where we came from.
Let me ask you this real quickly as a follow-up question. What was your biggest sports moment or best sports moment, either in football or basketball or both, playing for
Um,
Coach?
my senior year, I was the starting tailback for Coatesville, which nobody expected. And that picture that you spoke of earlier, that was a game winner at Villanova.
Now, who did you hit that over? You got to put some context to that. Who did
That
you
that
play? Who did
that
you
that
beat? Why was
I
such that a big game?
it was against Cheltenham. That shot was over
Yeah.
a guy that ended up going D1, and people still to this day they like, yo, how did you get that shot off? Watching Michael Jordan hang.
Yeah.
So you had a little hang time to your game.
Yeah, I had a little hang time.
I got you. Mr. Grub, go ahead, man.
Yeah. So those type of games, man, those bring back memories, and I'm sitting here listening to you about it. So Dre, I want to
Yeah.
get into life lessons and overcoming adversity. So and we're being transparent here. So you spent some time in jail, for whatever, and you had to reflect on your life,
Hmm.
and reflect on your talents that you were blessed with, that God blessed you with. Just give us some insight on that. How was that?
It was rough to go from the top of the mountain to the bottom of the valley. It was tough, man. It was tough. You know, you go from being so recognized to so forgotten and looked at. You know, you could really, me personally, I could see and feel how people looked at me. And then you hear the gossip, like, oh, he ain't gonna be nothing. He's troublesome. He's unreliable. You know what I mean? It makes you think about life different, especially when you're sitting in that jail cell and you've been hearing these, because life is fast paced when you out in the streets. When you get sat down, you got so much time to think about all the mistakes you could have made, the what ifs, the maybes. You just have time to reflect on so many things. And then, you get to a point where you just don't want to be that person anymore. You know what I mean? And that was like a big thing for me. I just didn't want to, I come from, my families, I come
Yeah.
from great families, you know what I'm saying? So just I've been taught well. I knew better. You know what I mean? So it's
So let me
just.
let me follow up on that,
Mhm.
Dre. You you said there comes a time in life when you're sat down, and sometimes you're forced to sit down.
Mhm.
Did that happen in your life?
I want to say I was about 27, and I had got picked up for some drug related issues. You know what I mean? And first and foremost, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed for me. I was embarrassed for my family. I was embarrassed for my kids. Just to be at that in the bottom of that valley. It hurt, bro. It hurt your soul. Like I felt it in my soul. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Obviously, when you're in high school, both Levi and I both play sports. We had some type of sports dream,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, We had, I'm sure with you being a standout athlete as basketball player, football player, you may have had field dreams or hoop dreams. So initially, what were your plans when you would finish up Coatesville? And what stopped those plans?
NBA. I thought I was going to the NBA. I got in some trouble my senior year. And although I still did make it to college, I had kids young. So that kind of changed the dimension because I felt like I needed to get money like now. I couldn't wait till the NBA. And I'm only 6 foot, so I was a smaller dude. So once I got to college, I could in high school, I could run by anybody and I could jump over anybody. I had like 43-inch vertical.
Wow.
So I could just blow by anybody. Once I got to college, but I wasn't a hard worker. I was just naturally more gifted than everybody. I didn't realize how much harder I had to work until I got to college because now it's dudes 6'3", 6'4" that could do everything I could do. One little bump on my hip, it would knock me off. So it forced me to get in the weight room. And it forced me to like focus and discipline pay more attention to my body as far as like weightlifting and what I was eating, like nutrition wise. It was kind of like a shell shock thing, you know what I mean? Like once I got to college, it was like, oh, amen. And I was going to college in Maryland,
What
right
college?
outside of Essex Community,
Okay.
right outside of Baltimore. So it was like these Baltimore boys could go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And that's one, real quickly, I'm
yeah.
going to stay on the sports thing real quickly. That's one thing that a lot of kids don't understand when they make that transition from high school to college.
Yeah.
You, like in your context, you could have been all chess smart.
Mm-hmm.
And typically when you go to college, like I learned, even playing Division II basketball, everybody was all something.
Yes.
And once you get to college, all that stuff doesn't mean anything.
Right out the window.
Right out the window. And the
Right out
coaches
the
really
window.
don't care anymore. It's like, what are you going to do now? It's like that song Janet Jackson was saying, what have you done for me lately?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So a lot of kids
It was like proving yourself all over again.
all over again because
Yep.
you can't carry your high school stats over, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, what your ability to jump, that wasn't as impressive as it was in high school because everybody can jump, everybody
Mhm.
can run, everybody's built. So a lot of times people or players, when they come in with this all-world mentality, they get shell shocked when they realize your superpower in high school won't do you much good in
Yeah.
college. And that's where the fundamentals and the mental capacity for the game definitely come in. So before Mr. Grub goes to another place, I want you to go, and we know we may have young people watching this show
Mhm.
today,
Mhm.
seeing this interview, and I appreciate you
Yeah.
for being vulnerable and sharing your story. You know, as you have a story, the reality is all of us have a story.
Yeah.
I'm a minister. All of us have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So nobody watching this show or asking you these questions is squeaky clean. Because we all, as I say to my church all the time, we also all have some skeletons in the closet. We all have some junk in the trunk. So
Right.
nobody can look down on anyone.
Right.
With that
Right.
being said,
I told Mr. Grub I'm an open book because these kids need to hear this.
for sure,
You know
for
what I
sure.
mean?
And that's the only way they learn, through
Yes.
stories.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
what would you say to some young man, even some young women these days, who may want to try to get out there, live the fast life, make quick money, when you know what you've been through personally may cause them to wind up in jail? What would you say to them to prevent them from doing the fast things that will get them locked up?
It seems like it's fast, but at the end of it, years later, that money was fast when you was getting it, but years later, when you go to jail, it's a movie that 50 Cent was in. And it starts off, what is it? Get Rich or Die Trying. In the beginning of that movie, he's calculated. He said, the time that you spent on the corners, the time that you spent in jail, the time that you missed your family, at the end of it, you really made less than minimum wage. in the long term, in the long scheme of things. So once you start calculating, once I seen that and I started thinking about my life, like, oh, I missed a lot. I missed a lot. At the time I had a junior, so it's like I missed a lot of time with my son growing up, 6 years. You know what I mean? So that hit me kind of hard, and I think that kind of like changed the dynamics for my son also. You know what I mean? Like my molding, my mentoring of him was less than it should have been. So I think that took a real toll in his life. So it just made me think about things differently. You know what I mean? And we come from a community where it's small. So you want to be there and show these people who you've become over the years. You know what I mean?
Dre,
It's just you just start thinking different. You
Yeah.
feel different.
Yeah. Appreciate
Dre,
you sharing.
they're sitting here listening to you, as a father, we're all fathers here.
Hmm.
And as you get older, I started to realize that I was learning how to be a father.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
learning how to be a father, and I did the best I could for my children. But you
Mm-hmm.
just realize that you're learning how to be a father, and it's not fair to them.
Yeah.
It's not fair to them.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, as they get older, they start to realize some things. And I'm just talking from a personal perspective. They
Mm-hmm.
end up
Mm-hmm.
coming back and talking to you,
Yeah.
having those conversations.
Yeah.
So saying that, Drake, I'm gonna get over to the artwork, man, because you produce some magnificent pieces, man.
Yeah.
Magnificent pieces. I'm not just saying this because I know you and love you,
Mm-hmm.
man, dude. Them pieces are great. So let me ask you, what was the first
He froze up on you.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll
what
we'll bring back Mr. Grubb back in just a moment.
Yeah.
Uh, he was doing the mannequin challenge for a minute. But I think he might be back up.
on the
So
screen, man?
all right, there you go, man.
Pull it back.
I didn't know if you were trying to get the Academy Award for Best Mannequin Challenge for me. But go ahead and ask
Nah,
your question.
okay. So what was the first piece of art that you sold? And what was the reaction of the person? Like, what was her reaction, his or her reaction when they received that painting?
This is a crazy story because it involves the streets. I was my past street life. I was it's pretty much big man on campus in Coatesville. And I was doing all the wrong things. So I'm pretty much ducking the police. I'm not in trouble yet, but I was hot. What we see in the streets, I was hot. So I'm ducking the police. So I'm just sitting in the house for months on end. And I seen Chris Brown do a pair of Yeezys. He painted a pair of Yeezys. And I'm like, yo, I used to do this back in the day. I won a scholarship to the Art Institute of Philadelphia, which I ended up taking a basketball scholarship because at the time I hadn't seen any black artists really making any money or really making any big moves. So I was like I said, I'm hiding out in the house basically, and I did these boots, a pair of Timberlands for my son, and I posted them on a social network, and I got a great reaction. So the first day I posted it, somebody asked me to do a pair for their son. So I did that. Boom. First job, second job, I got paid for it. Did another pair of boots. These are Timberlands. Like I'm literally just painting on Timberlands. And so I started making money. It wasn't a lot of money. It might have been like 40, $50. You know what I mean? So I started making money immediately from the art world. Right then and there. I'm a hustler. Right then and there, I was hooked. Did another pair of boots for a little girl. Sold them immediately. Then I'm like, wait, let me see if I can still do this on a canvas. Did it on a canvas, sold it immediately. So I just started making money off of the art immediately. You know what I mean? And like I say, it wasn't a lot of money, but it was something like, and at the time I'm getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in the streets. But that little $40 meant something to me because it was something righteous. It was something clean, which I hadn't done in years at that time. You know what I mean? So it was just something about making a profit in a righteous way for me. You know what I mean? And I was hooked at that point in time. And that was about 15 years ago. I've been doing this for about 15 years now.
And Dre, I can vaguely remember you posting those Timberlands, and even like I remember you doing, like, I think it might have been your daughter, but you were painting her jackets, and I'm
Yep.
watching like, man, Dre can paint.
Yep.
But we're not gonna gloss over that scholarship to the Art Institute. I know
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a story there because Dre, I did not really know that you had this type of talent.
We was in we were seniors in high school, bro. And I made a drawing pencil of that year. You know, we was in back then they called it the Coatesville Record, the
Yes,
newspaper, many
yes.
moons ago.
Hmm.
And you know, every game they would have a highlight or a picture of me in the newspaper. I took a picture out of the newspaper and made a basketball card, and it went to the Coats. We had like an art contest in Coatesville. I won that contest. They sent it over to Westchester University, and at the time, my man was Cliff Williams. Man, Cliff was out doing something the night before, and I didn't even want to go to the art show at Westchester University the next morning. And my mom forced me to. I won the whole art show in Westchester University. So that's how I got that scholarship offer from the Art Institute of Philadelphia. Not many people know this story.
That's
Me and Rip still is in contact with each other. And Rip would say, "Bro, I thought you was taking pictures from somebody else and posted them. I ain't never know you could do this." I'm like, "Yeah, bro, I won a scholarship in high school and just never told nobody because it's like right now I got a nonprofit organization, and my nonprofit isn't just about showing kids how to create. It's about showing them the business and the opportunity of art. Because if I knew what I know now about the art, I would have probably took that art scholarship instead of the basketball scholarship. But now for me, it's I think I go so hard. Yes, I want to make the money, but I want to show my community something different, bro. You know what I mean? Like I used to pride myself on being a big time drug dealer in the city, which was just blasphemy. You know what I'm saying? So, and I seen how many kids followed me and looked up to me. Like somebody, like, I got kids now. So I would walk in the Fonz's the night before, the week before, the weekend before school started, and people would call my kids and be like, "Yo, I seen your dad. He like a celebrity. He looked like a celebrity walking in here." But it's for the wrong reason. I'm like a kingpin of culture. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, and I just see how many people followed me, followed my lead in life. Period. Like, so that started to, once I sat down in that jail cell, it started to mess with my mind. Like I'm doing all this bad stuff, and people was really following it. I got a whole community of young boys doing the same stuff, and that's wrong, bro. So once I gained some clarity in that jail cell, and I just started seeing things differently. You know what I mean? So, and it took a few times to go in and out of jail. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I hit Chester County Prison 18 times
wow,
from 27 to 37.
wow,
You know what
wow,
I'm saying? So like, and every time it's embarrassment. My mom was the director of Children Youth Services in Westchester, and
wow,
I'm in and out of jail, and I'm the biggest drug dealer name in Chester County at the time.
wow.
So it would be time, and I would never ask my mom to come to court because it would be embarrassing and it affected her job. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like it was multiple things that brought this change about in me. You know what I mean? Bo, you know my mom. You know how my mom act. You know what I'm saying? So it was just like God bless,
Yeah.
God rest her soul. It was just like I can't keep doing this to this woman. You know what I'm saying? It just hurt me that she didn't live to see this part. She passed away before I became this artist. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
and even with my kids, it's like they never really got to meet my mother. My older kids, Dre, Anye, Shine, Anjanae, they got to meet their grandmother. My younger kids, they never met her. So it's just a lot of things. So my mom was the one that showed them good things. When she passed away, it was like, okay, I got to make some changes to show my kids different things because they getting the wrong information about their dad being this big time guy instead of this good guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that hurt my son a lot. It hurt that hurt little Dre a lot. You know what I'm saying? I think it's like I in my book of poems I got a poem in there called Sins of the Father. You know what I mean? And it's my past hurt my kids a lot because they hearing these stories about their father. You know what I'm saying? Now, yeah, he heard the stories about me in sports, which he lived up to and surpassed it. But then he had to hear the street stuff, which made him feel like it was all right to do.
Wow.
And it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? And now I gotta live with the pain of that. My son's sitting on 12 years right now. You know what I'm
Wow.
saying? And I fought myself for it a lot. I fought myself a lot for that. You know what I mean? From the time I missed being there, and I was the dad, when we having that crazy run for Coatesville with him, Emmett, and all them, I'm the only dad on the sideline. The only one. But I'm still that kingpin guy. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I was there, but you can't forget about those years I was in jail that I wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like those 6 years that I wasn't there, if I was there, my son's future could be different right now. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So, and I got to live with that. That's something that I wake up to. I think about my boy every day. And I used to talk to, when he was being recruited for college, I used to talk to Jim O'Brien a lot,
Yeah.
the college from Penn State.
Penn State.
We was going to cross over. We was going to Penn State instead of Rutgers.
Yes.
They bring Franklin in. Franklin bring his own people in. My son had already committed to Rutgers, so we just ran with Rutgers. But things could have been a lot different. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have changed, my actions could have changed my son's decision making.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I fought myself. I feel a lot of guilt with my boy being there because of my actions before that.
Yeah.
That he had to endure and live through. You know what I mean?
We got 2 more questions to ask you. And let me just pause and say thank you. Thank you so much for your transparency.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for just sharing how the father's indiscretions can cause the children
Yeah.
to go down the wrong path. And
we change these kids' lives, brother.
yeah, and I appreciate you because sometimes I'm a pastor in real life.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people don't really understand how, if they're a parent, their indiscretions can lead their children's lives in a totally different direction
I
that
was
can be
one of
harmful for the rest of their lives.
I was one of them people until after the fact.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
and
what I
I
mean?
appreciate you owning that.
Yeah.
And I think you ought to be applauded for
Yeah.
that because so many parents have not been honest with themselves, nor have not been honest with their children to
Mm-hmm.
say that maybe some of your life has been wrecked
Mm-hmm.
because I had a hand in it.
Yeah.
And how many kids would be healed if they heard that
Mm-hmm.
from their parent to say, I may have been a big factor in why things have not happened in the best fashion for you. So I want to applaud you, man. I truly appreciate you for sharing these things. Time is moving, so I want to move to some lighter moments real quick.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
So real quickly,
Yeah,
2
you
quick
almost got
questions.
me in tears, man. Talk about my boy, man.
Man, I'm about to cry myself, bro.
Yeah, man.
Hey, real men
I'm
cry.
sitting here, man.
So,
I already got to wipe tears though.
hey, go ahead on, man. Hopefully you got somebody in the background who got some Kleenex for you.
Yeah, right.
All right, real quickly. So we know you go from small city Coatesville to big city Los Angeles. Why did you decide to move to Los Angeles?
Honestly, bro, it was freedom or jail and life or death for me.
Mm,
I had to
wow.
go. One, it's like I was boxed in. When I say that, it was like my name was so big, I got every police officer in Chester County looking at me, looking to take me down. I'm like the big fish to take down. So it's like it was just time for me to get out of there. And then at the same time, it's like that's we're from a small town, so it just felt good going somewhere else and showing people that people from Coatesville do thrive in other places. And we don't know that until we get somewhere else. Because when we go other places, they love us. Our swag, our energy, our intelligence, our aggression, they love it. You know what I mean? And it just felt better. It felt better. You know what I'm saying? And meeting here now, when my kids call me and it's different when they're like, yo, such and such said they seen your artwork. Such and such said they seen you with this celebrity. Such and
Yeah.
such said they see you still talking to Rip. Like me and Rip, we talk a lot still. You know what I mean? So it just feels better. It feels good. Like, and I know how many people, like I was telling Bo the other day when we was talking, um, it was a young kid in Coatesville. I think his last name was Newton, and I had seen that he had posted a painting that he had made on Facebook. And one of his captions was inspired by Andre Lamont. And I said, yeah, I'm giving them hope. I'm giving them something else to look at. I'm giving them something to look forward to. You know what I'm saying? I'm letting them know, yo, you could be successful without selling drugs, without abusing women, without just, all this scandalous negativity. You could still win. You still be all right. You know what I mean? It may take a little longer, you know what I mean? But keep that same post-film mentality wherever you go, because like I say, you got to know how to fight coming from Coatesville, but not just physically. You know what I'm saying? Like mentally,
Yeah.
you gotta know how to fight for what you
You gotta be
want.
tough.
You know what I
You
mean?
gotta be
And
tough.
never, you gotta have endurance to never stop and keep pushing and keep pushing. Even out here in LA, it was valleys and peaks. It's valleys and peaks. Money high, money low. Your influence high, your influence low. And you just got to keep pushing forward, keep pushing forward, keep pushing forward until you get that win that you're looking for. Just like Skoog used to tell us, you got to stay focused and you got to keep pushing, Dre.
Yeah. 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 Let me read this for you, man. This is from Councilwoman Carrie Arvilla Hunt.
That's
Now
my baby right there. That's my
I
second
wanted to
mom
put
right
this
there.
I wanted to put this on the screen because it's wonderful when a city official is showing you love. She
Mhm.
says, "Dre, I'm so proud of you. Your story, while difficult, so powerful and real. Dre put me on his list. Emmett is taking me to see him next week."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miss Arvilla did. So, Miss Arvilla, I thank you from the bottom. I never got a chance to tell you how much I appreciate you and the boss man, Mr. Hunt. Y'all did so much for my son when I wasn't there. The times I spent in jail, she was always there for my son. Her, Miss Arvilla, and her son and my son is like this. They got a bond that'll never ever be broken. And that's because she always was there for my son, always took care of my son when I was away. And I just feel so blessed to have this woman in my life. I promise you I do. Thank you, Miss Arvilla. I never got a chance to thank you. Thank you. I know when we look in each other's eyes, I feel your passion. Thank you. I appreciate you so much, Miss Arvilla. Thank you.
She's a great woman, and I'm proud to say she's one of the fine members of the First Baptist Church of Passtown, where I have the privilege to
Yeah.
serve as pastor. Now, we have a thing called Red Raiders Rapid Fire. She says, "You're welcome. I love you, son." So she's
Thank you.
sending some love. So before we do our Red Rapid a Red Raiders Rapid Fire. Brother, Mr. Grub, put this question in here that we got to ask you. And it's much lighter now. So you got the hard stuff out the way.
Okay.
And we've been blessed.
Yeah, I told y'all already bring me to tears, man.
So here it is. And you know people gonna say what Dre said to this question. Here's the question. When it comes to basketball, who is on your who is on your Mount Rushmore of Coatesville basketball? That's 4 people.
Shaddy Daddy, Daryl Lewis,
Okay.
Victor Ford, my backcourt partner, Richard Hamilton. Rip.
Right.
Rip the city.
You got one more.
Marty Eggleston, the big man.
The big fella.
The big fella.
Okay.
He played with my older brother, Chiefy, Andre London, and the big man. You got to have a big man to run with. You know what I'm saying?
All right, man. So you're still giving love to the big man. You're not in this 21st century basketball with positionless basketball.
Yeah.
You still believe in the power of the big man.
Yeah, you need a guard, and you need that big man. You have to live and die by that big man.
I got you. All right, we're gonna let you out on this. We call this Red Raiders Rapid Fire. Now here's how this goes. And we didn't give you notes to this because we want this to be spur of the moment. Want you to think off the top of your head. I'm gonna mention something. And you got to respond in 1 to 3 words.
All right.
No long sentences, no paragraphs. I got the power of the mute button on my side. So if you go over 3 words, we mute you, okay? So right off the top of your head, okay? And these are all things pertaining to your life or your connections. You ready? All right, here you go. Coatesville.
CV for life.
Ash Park.
You better know how to fight.
Basketball.
We're the best in Chester County.
All right, I'll let you go with Chester County. All right, there you go. Scoogie Smith.
Oh, that's my third pop. I had a good step pop, so I had to say my third pop.
Yeah. Gotcha. The Palestra.
We should have won.
All right. The Eagles.
Championship.
Artist Gold.
For the kids.
Being a barber.
The people.
Los Angeles.
Coatesville takeover.
and last but not least,
brother is trying to take it over.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Last but not least, Kobe Bryant.
My heart. That was my guy.
Wow.
I looked that man in the eyes, and we understood. It was a camaraderie between me and that guy.
Well, man, we truly appreciate you coming on to share your story. This has been a powerful conversation.
I had a good time, brother.
A story about transparency, redemption, changing the narrative on your life.
Yeah.
And I know you have a story that will literally bless people. And man, whenever you come back to Coatesville, please let me know. I would love for you to come and talk to some of the children at our church and in other places as we're seeking to build this network.
I'll be out there next weekend. I'll be out there in about 10 days on the 30th.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll try to set some up. Real talk.
All right. Just keep me posted. I'm here for you, brother.
Well, we appreciate you, Mr. Grub.
Thank you.
You hit this one out the ballpark, sir.
Thank you. That's what we do, man.
So at least you won't get fired this week.
Yo, I had a real good time. I was looking forward to this one, man. I do a lot of these podcasts, man. This is one I was really looking forward to, man.
Dre, listen, Rev, I gotta say this, man. And because I didn't tell Rev this, Dre. Dre fought his own people on doing this show. He fought his own people, his management. And no disrespect to his management, because they're only looking out for his best interests.
Mm-hmm.
But Dre told me that, and he said, nah. He told him, that's my guy. That's my city.
This for the hood, baby. This for
So
our
I
city.
appreciate you, man. I really appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, man. I love you. And
I love you too,
I'm
bro.
not going to cry because you was trying to make me cry.
Yeah.
Man, love you, man.
Love you too,
Appreciate
man.
Well,
I
Coach
appreciate
Bill,
y'all just taking this time with me, man, and giving me the opportunity, man. I appreciate the opportunity, honestly.
Long time coming.
Yeah.
well, it's been a powerful moment. Thank you all so much for showing Dre some love. People are loving this interview, and man, we're gonna have you come back at some point again, if you don't
I'm here.
mind.
I'm here whenever y'all need me, brother. I'm here whenever y'all need me.
We appreciate you, man, and make sure you share this broadcast so people can hear this wonderful, redemptive interview. It's such a blessing. And if y'all don't mind, if you're on Facebook in particular, can you send up some hearts? Can you send up some likes for your homeboy from Seville, Andre Lamont, doing bigger and better things in Los Angeles, where he called it the Coatesville Takeover.
Yes.
All right, man. Well, we
Thank you, y'all.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you, Coatesville.
Yes, sir.
No doubt. Peace and
I'll
love
talk
to
to you,
you.
Dre.
Love y'all too, brother. Hey, Rev, let's see if we can get an art program going out there, man.
We're going to talk about I'm all for it.
Okay,
Let's talk about it. All right. Appreciate you, man.
All right.
Man, that was such an awesome interview. We went over a little time, but that was time well spent. Just give maybe a minute thought from that interview.
I'm overwhelmed, man. I'm overwhelmed. It went as I expected, though, because I've known Dre for, like you said, over 30 years, man. And Dre has always been, he's just been a risk taker, you know. And he explained it early in his life. The risks that he was taking, they weren't good risks to take. But when you look at later in his life, and the risks that just moving from Coatesville to California, right?
Yeah.
Those are high risk moves.
Yeah.
But they were good moves because he explained it to us that his kids are coming back to him with positive messages.
Yeah.
Daddy, somebody saw your art. Somebody's talking about your art. Instead of daddy, someone saying you're a drug dealer.
Yeah.
Someone saying you got arrested. Someone saying these bad things about you. Redemption. That's why I wanted to have Dre on the show, and it was a long time coming. And like I said, it brings me to tears. I'm being honest, Rev.
It's okay, man. Let them flow.
It brings me to tears, man, because, you know, like you said, it's a small town, and we talk about each other, and sometimes we hate on each other, and we bring each other down. We need to start lifting each other up. And that's one of the purposes of this show. Not just sports, athletics, you know, giving the kids their props and everything. It's to bring this town together and start lifting each other up.
Yeah, that's well said. Well said. You sound like a preacher right there. When do we need to
I've been
sign you up
for
your trial sermon? You sounded real preachery right there.
Hey, Rev, I flow better when I'm about to cry.
Hey, man, let it flow. Let it flow. Let it flow.
Ain't doing that.
But one of the things that was very, well, not very, but was a blessing was the fact that he's self-aware. Even when he was doing wrong, he was self-aware. He was self-aware about how his indiscretions not only affected his life, but also his children's life. And also those persons who looked up to him as a celebrity in the wrong way. And so many people's lives would be so much different if they just became more self-aware or be honest about how you're living. And that will open the door for transformation to take place in a person's life. So big ups to you, Mr. Grub, for pushing us to interview Andre. And so many people were blessed by this interview. And if you could be so kind, those who are watching, share this broadcast on your Facebook page. Tag somebody who you know needed to hear that interview on today tag somebody today, okay? So let's get to the sports world real quickly. Your Eagles flew on yesterday. They flew past the Rams on yesterday. They advanced to the NFC Championship game, and they will wind up playing a home game since the Detroit Lions lost. And they will face their NFC East rival, the Washington Commanders. We know that Saquon Barkley was a beast on yesterday, rushing for well over 200 yards, scored 2 TDs. Jalen Hurts didn't do much in the air, but he did do some stuff with his legs where he did have a big touchdown run himself. So, Mr. Grubb, here's the question. And Seaville Sports Mentality family, you can chime in the chat. Let's grade your Eagles' performance on yesterday. Here's the question. What grade would you give the Eagles' performance on yesterday? We're going to start with you, Mr. Grubb. And I don't need you graded on the curve because that's your team. I need you to give us an honest grade. What says you?
First of all, Rev, you could tell me a lot of things. But one thing you're not going to tell me is how to grade my team, my Philadelphia Eagles. You coming in my town and telling me how to, man, see, there you go. You get me started again. I'm starting to deflect. Okay. You're starting to, okay, Rev, they get a B minus. This is why they get a B minus, Rev. With the weather situation, the unfavorable conditions, but both teams played in that weather. So you got to cancel that out. There was mistakes made. There was extra points missed by Jake Elliott. There was bad decision, bad play calling on second down to do a play action pass when all we had to do was continue to run the ball, and we had like 5-something minutes left. We need to run the clock out. These are things we got to fix, we got to learn from, and we're gonna do better next week. And the only thing I want to say to those Redskin fans.
Hold, time out. They're called the Commanders. Put some respect on their name. They fought long and hard.
I apologize.
They fought long and hard trying to come up with an appropriate name for their team. Remember, one year they were just called the Washington team.
The NFL football team. Something like that.
So put some respect on the Commanders' name. They're called the Commanders. Now go ahead on with your soliloquy.
Right. I do apologize to all the Commodore fans. Only thing I gotta say is this: look, James Daniels is the truth this year. Mark my words, he's the truth this year, and we're playing with this year. We're not looking at next year or whatever. The Eagles, my prediction is the Eagles will win 28-21. 28-21. And the Eagles will be on their way to the Super Bowl, their second Super Bowl since 2022. Now, y'all put some respect on our name. Commodores.
Okay. I'm going to give them a C.
They not like us.
I'm going to give them a C. They played an average game. An average game. That's what a C is. The last time I checked, I used to be a physical education teacher, so I used to give actual grades in roll books, on report cards. And the Eagles' report card for yesterday's game was a C. You mentioned the specialty blemishes, miss extra points. What you did mention specifically were coaching errors that almost cost the Eagles a game they should have won handedly. The snow bailed them out because I know you were scared when that last possession was going. Right. So let's not act like you wasn't getting weak in your knees like SWP.
Man, I got to watch what I tell you, man.
Because you didn't even tell me that. I already knew. Y'all were probably. I was ready for the health ministry at our church to come get everybody if the Eagles had lost. I was ready to call the doctors, the health ministries of every church. I was going to call extra help from Georgia, New York, New Jersey, because y'all were in panic mode because of poor coaching down the stretch. There's no way that game was supposed to be that close, especially after Saquon ran that second touchdown. The game was over, but Sirianni, who's probably, besides Jake Elliott, one of the weakest links on your team, even though he has an impressive win-loss record, I do not trust him in big games. And the other thing that we have to look at now, as I graded him as with a C, and I think I backed up why I gave him a C. Let's be careful with our predictions for the next game. Because I think you might want to wait a few more days to get the health report of your quarterback, Jalen Hurts.
Come on, man. Why are you talking about that?
Listen, Mr. Grubb. See, when you do a show, you got to listen to all the details before you provide a rebuttal. Here are the details. Listen. I think didn't Beyonce in the movie Dreamgirls have a song? Listen. So get your Beyonce on, Mr. Grubb, real quick. All right, here it is.
I ain't a Beyonce fan.
Okay, all right. I know somebody out there that's part of the Beehive, but nevertheless,
I'm trying to get you off your game because you're trying to speak
lost
into existence.
I'm gonna finish my point. Because you already admitted last week you like to deflect, and we're going to rebuke a deflecting spirit in this conversation.
Oh, you got receipts, huh?
So here it is. Jalen Hurts was injured in yesterday's game. If Jalen Hurts' leg is compromised, that can change the entire trajectory of Sunday's game. Because they're going to have to put points on the board. And if Jalen can't move, I don't think anybody who's a smart Eagles fan will sit there and be excited if Jalen Hurts is limited to just being a pocket passer, which he has not shown himself to ever be. Because that means the Commanders' defensive line and the defense can put 8 men in the box, slow down Saquon, and we know the reason why the Eagles are the Eagles this year is because of Saquon Barkley. Not because of Jalen Hurts, but because of Saquon Barkley. And if Saquon gets stopped, there's a good chance your Eagles get stopped. Now you can respond.
You know, Rev, I think that you went so hard and so long on your explanation of what happened yesterday. The real reason is because you're afraid. You're afraid deep down inside. You're quaking in your boots. You're scared. You want me to tell the people or you want to tell them? I know why you're afraid. I'll tell them. It's okay. You ain't got to talk. You're afraid because you know that the Kansas City Chiefs will beat the Buffalo Bills, and this is no deflection, sir. They will beat the Buffalo Bills, but you know the Eagles will beat the Commodores this weekend. And what does that do? That sets up a rematch. Face-to-face. Philadelphia Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles! That's what you're going to have to hear, Rev.
No, hold on.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
Go ahead.
Started this fight, sir.
Go ahead. What's your next point? Because I'm not listening to chants. I'm listening to substance. All right, you giving me chance. Ain't nobody come here EAG. There ain't no touchdown just got scored. All right. So now you're done. You're done because you're up here chanting. You're chanting. You're not giving no sports take. You up here chanting like they just scored a touchdown.
Hey, man, don't do that again. LGA. Don't do that again, man.
Anybody got time to hear no chants? This is a sports show. This is not a chant show.
This
is a sports show. We make takes, not chants.
Look, I'll give you a take. That was disrespectful that you gave the Eagles a C. was
No,
disrespectful.
it was an average performance. But let me say this. Let me say this.
Hold on,
Now,
Rev.
now
Look, I'll
I
stop. I'll
hope
keep it short.
listen. I hope your wife is nearby.
No.
One of the 5 members, new members of our church.
Yeah.
I pray that her hands are ready to rub your knees because you're going to have to repent tonight. Because scared and being a Chiefs fan, that's oxymoronic.
Ooh, I'm
What
glad you
do
heard
I
that.
have to be scared about when my team wins championships? Your team just shows up to the championship.
I planted that
My
seed.
team actually, matter of fact, Mr. Grubb, you made a statement. You're second if the Eagles make it, which my team has made it the past 2 seasons.
Whoop did do.
You mentioned that the Eagles made it 2 years ago. Can you please tell everybody who they lost to?
The refs.
Oh, you want me? Since you love spelling, Chiefs, Chiefs. That's who they lost to. So you better put some respect in your mouth for my Chiefs, the 2-time defending NFL champions. This year, the team that had the best record in the NFL. So scared and being a Chiefs fan is a waste of oxygen for somebody to say that. Let's just hope that y'all can win your home game. Let's just hope you don't allow a rookie quarterback to come into your house and house y'all on Sunday. Because if your team, let's get back to the statement. If your team plays on Sunday, like they did, like they did yesterday, it ain't gonna be no fly, Eagles fly. It's gonna be cry, Eagles cry, because they're gonna be losing. They're gonna be losing.
Hey, Rev, you've been up here too long, man. You're learning the anti-Eagles chants, man. You're learning.
See, you gotta have some anti-chants because y'all get a little bit obnoxious sometimes as Eagles fans. Because I was reading some chat, I think y'all the most hated out of all the NFC East teams amongst the fan bases in the NFC East. And that was surprising to read, especially since the Cowboys are nationally hated, but in your division, the folk hate the Eagles most because of the fans.
And you know what? You know what I'm gonna say to you about people hating us, Rev? People ain't like, there was people that ain't like Jesus too.
But Jesus was a winner.
What does that matter? We don't care.
Jesus was a winner. Y'all only won 1 championship so Jesus won more than 1 victory, 1 championship. He healed more than 1 body.
Hey, Rev, I'm not gonna get back and forth with you about Jesus, okay? Because I ain't gonna win it.
All right. With that being said, you've already said they're going to win. I'm gonna hold off on my prediction until I hear the injury report, because I will say this: if Jalen Hurts is doing well and able to play, I'm going to give the Eagles the edge since they're playing at home. I'm going to give the Eagles the edge. And Sister Barbara Teleferro, hello to you. All right, with that being said, we're going to get closer to the end of this show. We want to thank again Brother / Deacon Joe Lewis for giving us some insight on Coach Al Black. Also, we want to thank Andre Lamont for giving us such a powerful interview. But we would not end this show without paying homage to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. for today is King Day. And instead of doing a schoolgism, which we normally do, we're going to pay homage to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I just want to play a 1-minute clip of Dr. King. The backdrop for this particular video is when Dr. King was addressing some minority students who were dealing with segregation and racism. And he gave a speech which has been entitled, "What is Your Life's Blueprint?" So to celebrate King Day, we're going to play this clip real quickly. And then I'm going to ask Mr. Grubb if he has any short comment that he wants to give based on what Dr. King said in this particular clip. Listen to it.
And so I would urge you to study hard, to burn the midnight oil. I would say to you, don't drop out of school, and I understand all of the sociological reasons why we often drop out of school. But I urge you, in spite of your economic plight, in spite of the situation that you are forced to live so often with intolerable conditions, stay in school. And when you discover what you're going to be in life, set out to do it as if God Almighty called you at this particular moment in history to do it.
Mr. Grub, powerful words from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Any thoughts from what you just heard?
I mean, I sat there and listened, and it just brought back some, personal reflections of my life, because I'm a college dropout. I never finished my my college education. I went to school to be an elementary teacher, but because of having kids at a young age and getting married at a young age, that was the decision that I made. So saying that, I mean, he's absolutely right. I mean, I preach the same thing to my kids. I mean, I have my oldest son is a college graduate, and my younger daughters, they're all workers, but my youngest daughter is going to school right now also. So we preach education in our home. We try to be examples. My wife she just recently got her degree. So what he is saying is correct. Education is key. I had to learn my education through just experience, work experience. And but I do not regret the decisions I made as far as being there for my kids. Yeah.
I think they were powerful words as a graduate of 3 different institutions, as a former teacher, former basketball coach. Education is definitely key. Even if you take it from just being a student in the classroom, in whatever field of work, you got to be educated in order to be effective in what you do. So I thank God for the powerful words of Dr. King, and I'm glad that we had a chance to hear some powerful words from Dr. King. I'm glad that we were able to uplift his legacy, for he definitely changed many people's lives for the better during his 39 years here on earth. And his life teaches us that you don't have to be here for a very long time in order to make a difference, a positive difference in people's lives. So we thank God for the memory, legacy, life, work, and witness of Dr. King. And as we get ready to wrap up this show on today, do understand that we are all about sports, but we do include a touch of Christ. And I wanted to share a quick scripture with you real quickly from Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11. It says, "For I know the plans I have, and that should be for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And I just want to share this quick word with you, that even as we celebrate today, we know that God has plans for each and everyone's life. God had plans for Dr. King's life, to be an activist, to be a change agent internationally, statewide, nationally. And we see how he literally changed the world. And as God had plans for Dr. King, God had plans for me and Mr. Grub to do this show, to uplift the city of Coatesville, to bring people together in Coatesville, to tell stories about God's plans for people's lives. And when it comes to plans, everything may not go as you may plan to do it. As I shared last week, no shade on Mr. Grub, but he was not my first choice to do the show. But God had plans for Mr. Grub to be a part of this show. So this show can be what it has become, and the best is yet to come because God wanted Mr. Grub to be on this show with the Sports Rev. So I want somebody to know, don't throw in the towel. Don't give up. God has plans for your life. But you have to make sure that your plans don't get in the way of God's plans for your life. Or if you operate within God's plans, then God's plans will prosper you and not harm you. Yes, you may have to go through some rough times and some trying situations. They will prosper you and not harm you. They will give you a hope and a future. And as I close, as God has brought Mr. Grub and the Sports Rev together, which were all a part of his divine plan for this show, you see already the prosperity that is taking place with this show. And as I stated earlier, the best is yet to come. So I hope that encouraged somebody on today. I hope somebody was inspired by this show. If you were inspired, can y'all send up some hearts, send up some likes? Can you all thank Deacon/Brother Joe Lewis for giving us some information about Coach Al Black and rest his soul and prayers to his family? Can y'all give some hearts and likes to Brother Andre Lamont, who blessed us with his powerful, powerful story? And can y'all show some love to Mr. Grub? Even though he likes to deflect, we still want to show him some love on today. But as we get ready to go, any parting word for the people, Mr. Grub?
Yeah, man. Hey, Rev, I love you, man. I love you. I love you, man.
I love you too. And big ups to our network coordinator, Sister Kim, blessing us, touching base with people who are on the show. We truly appreciate her. She makes the network look much more profitable than it really is. And we truly appreciate all her hard work. Well, we'll be back on the same Facebook page, YouTube channel, next Monday night, 6:30. Please like our Facebook page, our YouTube channel. Please let us know if you know of any good works that are going on with Coatesville athletes. And also check out the clips that Mr. Grub videos all during the course of the week where we show some Coatesville athletic love when we see some great things happening in our city. All right, be blessed, everybody, and have a great evening. And if you're a real sports fan, check out that Ohio State Notre Dame game. It should be a good one on tonight. Peace and love. We're out of here.